These three ergonomic mice have got to be some of the best I've used this year, maybe of all time. There's something for everyone: palm grip, fingertip or claw, aggressive claw, relaxed claw, a palm finger claw hybrid with citrus undertones, a mouse for small hands, a larger mouse for strong men. If you want to get out of ELO hell, these ergonomic mice will help you. Stay there. The first mouse I was underwhelmed with, but with over a month of use, I'm starting to love it a lot. It's the Pulsar X-Lite Crazy Light. As the name suggests, it's crazy light. It weighs around 41 to 43 grams, which for a holeless ergonomic mouse makes it one of the lightest you can buy of this category. I was concerned about the quality of this mouse before I got it. Ultra lightweight mice have been a bit hit and miss for me recently, especially ones that attempt to go for holeless shells. You can often feel a bit of fragility to them, which for a rather heavy-handed, big, strong, muscular man such as myself, it is a concern, as I could break it with my immense strength. Not only that, I have experienced faulty Pulsar mice in the past, but this thing is mind-blowing with how well made it is. It doesn't feel like an ultra lightweight mouse. It feels like it has the build integrity of something much, much heavier. Before I continue, the internal specifications of this mouse contain large numbers. Back to the quality. The main switches, which are using Pulsar optical switches, which I think are the FE switches, feel really nice. I think this is my favorite optical switch right now. They feel a bit tighter than Omron opticals, and they also have a bit more of a mechanical sound to them. The shape is where this mouse kind of stands out a bit. It is a small baby, with it being around 115mm long, 63mm wide, and 40mm tall. Because of all these small symmetrical mice I've reviewed over the past couple of years, I now use a palm claw grip, also known as a palm grip. If you have a hand size similar to mine, is a banana for scale, you will need to arc your front fingers a bit or they'll dangle over the edge and you'll be pressing air. Having said that, if you have very small hands, you could probably palm grip this. There is still enough hump support for this, as well as there being plenty of room on the right side to have your fingers flat against it like a palm grip. Because of its smaller profile, it can also be used as a fingertip grip, and because it's still a bit wider than some other symmetrical mice, I think it's more ergonomic friendly as your fingers are in a more natural position. They don't need to be tucked in for support, they just sit on the mouse. I find that with a small ergo mouse such as this, with a claw grip, the raised height of your fingers, especially on the sides, provides a bit more accuracy when needing to make finer adjustments whilst aiming, as they feel a lot more engaged in this process instead of just providing support. This is a mouse that I think has made me fall in love with ultralight mice. This costs around $130 or £130 or 140 euros at the time of this video, blah 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 blah, subject to change and all that rubbish. About $10 more than what most people think a flagship mouse should cost. But you're getting a really good ultralight ergonomic mouse for that money. So honestly, this is worth picking up. The next mouse is going to be gaining some weight of around 14 grams, but don't let that put you off, as this mouse is unique in its own way. And it's another Pulsar mouse, and it's a new shape, but because it's marketed poorly, as it's tied to a lesser known esports personality, it might end up being discontinued after a year because most of the marketing is based on it being this guy's mouse instead of it being a rather decent and new shape that actually has potential. And also the fact that it's gated behind a higher price for some reason. Anyway, this is the JVX, another mouse to the Pulsar Pro Series line, where pro players design a mouse, sign it, and then I'd imagine getting a cut of the sales for Pulsar using their likeness. This JVX, made in collaboration with Jesse Vash, a Valorant player, is actually a unique shape. I never thought I'd see the day. Having said that, it's an EC2, but a bit thinner. In comparison to the X-Lite, this thing is a big boy. However, if we refuse to buy into the baby hands propaganda, this is actually a more medium-sized mouse, with it being 121mm long, 62mm wide, and 40mm tall. From my experience, I think this mouse really excels with a palm claw grip. The narrowness makes it less ideal for a full-on palm grip, as I think it's just a bit too narrow and your fingers on the right side do bunch up quite a bit. However, just arcing your fingers like a claw grip provides much more comfort and stability, and the higher front end also makes it more comfortable with arched fingers as you need less downward pressure to trigger the main switches, which are also Pulsar's optical switches. And just like the Crazy Light, you still have a very high standard of quality. The main buttons combined with the optical switches feel incredible on this. Additionally, the primary buttons activate the switches consistently regardless of where they are pressed. At the top, middle or bottom, they feel almost identical, so if you have longer or shorter fingers, you'll still be getting a near perfect experience. Overall, this is a perfect mouse and I really like the shape. I think this is a great option for someone that uses a palm claw grip hybrid, relaxed claw, or even just a claw grip in general. However, this mouse is a bit more expensive than the Crazy Light, as it retails for around $155. Which I guess has increased because they've got to pay the pro player. But I think it's just asking too much for a more obscure shape. Having a new shape and gatekeeping it behind a higher price isn't exactly a great way of getting people to try it out. Which is a bit of a shame because this mouse is pretty good, but the price point makes it unaffordable for most, and it's likely that people will skip buying it because of that, unless they're huge fans of Jesse Vash. Ignoring the price though, it's another pretty decent banger of a mouse from Pulsar. Saving the best for last, it's time for another new-ish design. The NP01S Ergo. This was going to have its own standalone review, but it would have just been 6 minutes of me sucking it off. This basically sits in between the NP01 and NP01S in terms of dimensions. I'd recommend watching Vaxi's own video on the shape of this, as they go into a lot of detail with the changes and why they made them. But basically, this is an ergonomic mouse that has a lower hump placement. Most ergonomic mice have them centered. By having this lower down, it keeps it more fixed against your palm, which creates a lot more stability whilst aiming. So it's like a more traditional symmetrical claw focused shape, but ergonomic. This should also translate in a bit more accuracy and stability with more vertical movements. So if you play a game that has a lot of that, this will be a great choice. From my experience playing Deadlock, which has a lot of vertical movements, it's very comfortable and effortless to move this mouse vertically, as the lower hump placement really keeps it more secure into your palm, making this the key focal point for stability when moving the mouse. This is a fantastic choice for a relaxed claw, palm claw grip hybrid, or a claw grip in general. The right side doesn't have that much room for flat finger placement for my hand size, but might be suitable for those with smaller hands, so palm gripping it might be possible. I actually really like the shape change for this. The NP01 and S never really felt comfortable in my hand. I'd be constantly fidgeting when holding it. However, the Ergo just feels natural to hold. There aren't any adjustments needed to be made whilst playing, it just feels right, like it's locked into my hand. But what really stands out with this mouse is the quality of it, and also the price, which is around $140. This is the highest quality mouse I have used. From the switches to the scroll wheel, everything just feels incredible. It feels like the whole mouse was carefully fine-tuned before it was put into the box. When I've reviewed some more expensive mice like the DeathAdder V4 Pro or the Harp 2 Ace, which are also high-quality products, they have, however, had areas that I felt could have been improved. Most of the time, it's the switches. But with this, I can't think of anything that could be. This is honestly perfection, and so it puts me in a tough spot as this is the highest quality mouse you can buy, but it's also expensive. I guess to make an excuse for them, and myself, Vaxi are a smaller company, and in my experience, they do whatever it takes to provide you with the best mouse possible. I think that when you try this, you will hopefully be immediately impressed with the quality of it as well as the improved shape. Don't get me wrong though, this mouse won't make you play better. It certainly didn't work for me, but it did show me what's achievable in terms of quality, and that making a few minor tweaks to an existing design can transform a mouse into something more comfortable. I wouldn't be surprised to see this mouse being picked up by a lot more pro CS2 players over the next year or so, because it provides a good balance between the control of a tight-fitting ergo mouse but the freedom of movement commonly associated with symmetrical designs. So I think this is worth purchasing, and I say that reluctantly based on my opinions of the price of gaming mice recently, but after using it, man, it's just on another level. It's great to see ergonomic shapes making a bit of a comeback, especially as I feel there are significant benefits that ergonomic mice have, especially with the more popular claw grip. For now though, I'm going to stare lovingly at my NP01S Ergo on my Vaxi mousepad, wearing a Vaxi t-shirt. If you want something a bit more affordable in this economic crisis, well, there's a great video on screen now for you to watch. You might be surprised with how incredible some of the cheaper mice are.